The ghost of yesterday. The golden sun blazed high in the flawless azure sky, casting radiant sparkles over the ocean as the luxurious cruise ship, the Star of Elysium, sliced through crystalline Caribbean waters. The grandeur of the enormous vessel was matched only by the indulgence of its passengers, who relaxed blissfully, sipping cocktails, chatting, and soaking up the warm, gentle sea breeze. Yet amidst the laughter, music, and tranquility aboard, one man stood apart, disconnected from all the joy that surrounded him. At the uppermost deck, gazing silently into the endless ocean, stood Marcus Reed. At 38 years old, he was the very image of success, a billionaire businessman whose tech empire spanned continents, a renowned philanthropist whose wealth was only matched by his seemingly endless generosity. Yet beneath Marcus's quiet charisma and wealth, something vital was missing. Something he'd lost nearly a decade ago, and nothing had ever been able to replace. Isabella. Just her name was enough to tighten the knot that never loosened in Marcus's chest. Isabella Silva had disappeared 9 years earlier, leaving him confused, broken, and endlessly seeking answers. They had shared a whirlwind romance, a storybook love that seemed destined for eternity, until one day she'd simply vanished. No note, no clues, no goodbyes. Marcus had scoured the globe, hired the best detectives money could buy, and left no stone unturned. But Isabella Silva had seemingly evaporated into thin air. For years, Marcus had drifted from one empty success to another, accumulating wealth and power, hoping each new victory would somehow erase the ache her disappearance had left behind. But nothing had. Now, reluctantly taking a rare vacation at the insistence of his closest friends, Marcus wondered if he would ever truly heal from Isabella's unexplained abandonment. "Come on, Marcus." The cheerful voice belonged to Claire Stevens, Marcus's oldest friend and business partner, who had practically dragged him aboard. She approached with a wide smile, sunglasses resting on her sun-kissed face. "You can't spend your entire vacation brooding. This is supposed to help you relax." Marcus sighed, adjusting his sunglasses. "Claire, I'm here. Isn't that enough?" "No," she laughed. "You must actually enjoy yourself, Marcus. You deserve happiness. You can't spend your life chasing ghosts." Marcus's expression tightened briefly before he forced a smile. "I'm trying." "Good." Claire linked her arm through his, guiding him toward the ship's promenade. "There's a family-friendly show starting at the lower deck. Something silly, fun. Exactly what you need right now." Marcus reluctantly followed her, descending into the lively heart of the cruise liner. Bright colors, festive music, and laughter enveloped them, creating an atmosphere that was undeniably infectious. Families mingled happily, children excitedly jumping about, anticipating the entertainment that awaited. The host, a cheerful man with a microphone, had already begun gathering volunteers from the eager audience. Marcus stood off to the side, feeling awkwardly out of place among the excited crowd. He watched quietly, lost again in his own thoughts, as his gaze wandered aimlessly, until a sudden movement caught his eye. It was nothing extraordinary at first glance, a woman leading a small parade of 5 energetic children, but something in his heart jerked abruptly. Something about her stance, the graceful movements of her arms, the delicate sway of dark hair that brushed her shoulders. He felt his heart stutter violently. "No," Marcus whispered, disbelief tearing through him like an electric shock. He blinked, certain his eyes had betrayed him. Yet each blink only sharpened the vision before him. Isabella. Older, certainly. Her hair now darker, shorter, and styled neatly. But it was unmistakably her. His Isabella. His pulse thundered wildly, drowning out everything else. "Marcus." Claire touched his arm gently, sensing something wrong. Marcus's entire being tightened in shock as the woman turned slightly, her face fully visible. Those haunting eyes met his for a brief, frozen second. Shock flared within them. Shock, and something deeper, darker. Fear. Then Isabella quickly turned, herding her children away swiftly. Wait. Marcus stepped forward instinctively, forgetting everything else as desperation surged through him. Claire called after him, but he heard nothing over the roar of his own heart. All he knew was that the woman he had mourned, the woman he had searched for all these years, had somehow reappeared, here, today, with children that bore a disturbing resemblance to him. Marcus pushed gently past groups of people, eyes scanning frantically, heart hammering. His vision blurred by emotion, he followed swiftly into the ship's quiet interior corridor. He turned corners, desperate, searching, until he reached an almost deserted side deck near the stern. There, Isabella stood, guardedly clutching her children close. The boys stared back at him, 5 faces so remarkably identical to his own that Marcus's legs felt weak beneath him. "Isabella," he breathed. "My God, is it really you?" She hesitated, anguish twisting her delicate features. "Marcus, please, you shouldn't have followed me." Her voice. Even after all these years, the melody of her words remained engraved upon his heart. "Shouldn't have followed you," Marcus repeated incredulously, agony dripping from each word. "I thought you were dead. For 9 years, I searched everywhere. I did everything to find you. And now you're standing here alive, safe, with," he faltered, voice shaking, "with children who look exactly like me." Isabella's gaze dropped, eyes shimmering with tears. Her voice trembled softly. "I'm sorry, Marcus. You were never supposed to see us again." "Why?" His voice cracked painfully. "Why would you run from me? Were you in trouble? Was someone threatening you?" Isabella hesitated, briefly looking around, clearly nervous. "Marcus, I can't explain right now. It's not safe." Not safe. His heart sank deeper, dread coiling inside him. "Tell me who's threatening you. I'll protect you. Just tell me. These children, are they mine?" Her eyes lifted to meet his again, haunted by old pain, regrets, and secrets long buried. Finally, in a voice softer than the whispering sea breeze, she confessed, "Yes, they're your sons, Marcus." Marcus staggered slightly, overwhelmed, mind spinning. 5 sons. All these years. Isabella, how could you keep something like this from me? Why would you vanish without explanation, without letting me know they even existed? "Marcus, you don't understand." Her voice broke with emotion, tears spilling free. "I had no choice. It was either disappear or lose everything. Please, just walk away. Forget you saw us." "I spent 9 years thinking you were gone, Isabella," Marcus said fiercely. 9 years blaming myself, wishing I'd known why. "You can't ask me to walk away now." She shook her head helplessly, desperation etched deeply on her face. "I know how much you've suffered. I suffered too. But you don't realize who you're up against." "Then tell me," he implored, stepping closer, his voice filled with unyielding determination. "I don't care how powerful, how dangerous. I'll protect you all." One of the children stepped forward suddenly, his gaze suspicious yet curious. "Are you really our father?" Marcus knelt slowly, meeting the child's intense gaze. "Yes, I am your father, and I swear, I'll keep all of you safe." A hint of hope flickered in Isabella's tortured eyes, but fear still consumed her. "Marcus, he's here. He'll never let us go." "Who?" Marcus asked, a storm of fury brewing in his soul. "Who is threatening our family?" She took a shaky breath, eyes darting around once more before whispering a single chilling name. "Your brother, Damien." Marcus's heart froze in disbelief. Damien Reed, the sibling he'd spent years caring for, trusting implicitly. How could Damien be connected to Isabella's disappearance? How had Damien, the person he thought he knew better than anyone else, orchestrated this entire nightmare? Marcus slowly rose to his feet, eyes ablaze with quiet, unwavering resolve. "I won't lose you again, Isabella. No matter what my brother has done, no matter the threats, I'll make this right." Tears slipped down Isabella's face as Marcus extended his hand toward her, bridging a gap forged by years of secrecy and pain. Tentatively, she placed her trembling hand into his, her voice heavy with the weight of her secrets. "You have no idea what we're facing, Marcus. Damien isn't the man you believe he is." Marcus squeezed her hand, fierce determination burning in his eyes. "Neither am I, Isabella. I'm done mourning the past. It's time I took back my family." And with that, amidst the gentle sway of the mighty ocean, Marcus knew his battle had just begun. But he had something he'd never dreamed possible again, a family worth fighting for. And this time, no force on earth would tear them apart. Shadows of the past. The Caribbean sun melted slowly into the horizon, draping the vast ocean in hues of gold and crimson. But aboard the Star of Elysium, Marcus Reeves saw only darkness. He stood silently by the railing of a secluded upper deck, gripping it so tightly his knuckles whitened, lost deep in thought. Below deck, safely tucked away in the luxurious suite he'd secured for Isabella and their 5 sons, a flurry of emotions stirred. Their reunion had brought a mixture of relief and joy, yet fear still lurked beneath every moment of happiness. Marcus had thought he'd experienced every possible betrayal, every imaginable pain when Isabella vanished. But the revelation that his brother, Damien, the one person he'd trusted implicitly, the person he'd shared every childhood secret and adult success with, was responsible for destroying his life was almost impossible to fathom. He took a slow, deep breath, attempting to control his racing thoughts. His mind replayed the haunting words Isabella had spoken earlier. "Damien isn't who you think he is." A bitter taste rose in Marcus's throat. Had he really been blind for so long, trusting the very man who now posed the greatest threat to his family? "Marcus." Isabella's gentle voice pulled him back from the dark spiral. She stood at the doorway, illuminated softly by the warm deck lights, wrapped in a delicate shawl that fluttered lightly in the sea breeze. Despite her visible exhaustion, the strength he'd always admired in her shone through. "How are they?" Marcus asked quietly, stepping closer, desperate for any news that might distract from the painful thoughts gnawing at him. "Sleeping," Isabella said softly, her gaze drifting towards the horizon, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "They're exhausted. They've never felt safe enough to sleep deeply before. It's the first time they haven't needed reassurance." Marcus's heart twisted painfully. "All these years, you were running from Damien." Isabella turned to face him, sorrow etched deep within her features. "It started the day I found out I was pregnant. I wanted to surprise you, make it special. But Damien discovered it first. He knew how you felt about family. He knew children would change your priorities." Marcus stared at her, disbelief etched in his face, and he considered that a threat. "Damien wanted complete control over your empire," Isabella said bitterly, her voice trembling slightly. "You've always trusted him, Marcus. He's cunning, dangerous. He knew you'd slow down, put family first. He was terrified you'd walk away from the company." Marcus clenched his fists, jaw tightening painfully. He felt sickened, betrayed beyond words. "And he threatened you?" Isabella nodded slowly, at first subtly, then openly. "He made it clear, if I told you about the pregnancy, about him, he'd destroy everything. He said he'd make sure you'd lose everything, including your sons." Marcus felt rage ignite within him, hotter and brighter than he'd ever imagined. "Why didn't you come to me?" She sighed softly, guilt shadowing her face. "I was scared, Marcus. Damien had spies everywhere. He tracked my every move. The day before I vanished, he left me a message, a photograph of you asleep, unaware someone was standing beside your bed. The implication was clear. He'd harm you, even kill you, if I tried to expose him." Marcus paled, imagining how powerless Isabella must have felt. Damien had always presented himself as supportive, loyal. Never had Marcus considered him capable of such cruelty. "But 5 sons, Isabella," Marcus whispered, the weight of lost years heavy in his voice. "Didn't I deserve to know?" Marcus, I've regretted every single day I kept them from you. Isabella's voice cracked, tears finally escaping her eyes. But each day was survival. Each day was hiding, looking over my shoulder, afraid of every shadow. All I wanted was to keep them alive. Marcus reached out, gently touching her face, wiping away her tears with infinite tenderness. I should have protected you. I should have seen Damien's true nature. You shouldn't have carried this alone. Her voice softened, eyes locked onto his. I never blamed you, Marcus, but Damien's reach was too strong, too relentless. I had no choice. Marcus pulled Isabella into his arms, holding her close, feeling every heartbeat, every tremble of fear and hope. He promised himself silently, never again would they live in fear. Never again would he allow Damien's shadow to darken their lives. He drew back slightly, determination fierce in his eyes. This ends now. I have to confront Damien, Isabella. Fear flashed in her expression, grip tightening on his arms. Marcus, you don't understand how dangerous he truly is. If you confront him directly, he'll stop at nothing. He'll kill you, or worse, hurt our sons. I know, Marcus said softly, determination unwavering. But we can't hide forever. Damien won't stop until he's stopped. I must face him, and I must do it now. For you, for them. Isabella searched his face, finally nodding reluctantly. Then I'm coming with you. No, Marcus firmly replied. I need you here, safe, protecting our boys. I'll make sure security is discreet but airtight. Damien won't touch you again. She hesitated but saw the unwavering determination in Marcus's eyes. Promise me you'll return safely. Promise you'll come back to your family. I swear, Marcus whispered. I'm not losing you twice. She cupped his face gently, eyes deep with love. Then go. End this nightmare. Marcus wasted no time. As soon as Isabella returned inside, he contacted the one person he still trusted completely, Claire Stevens. Within an hour, Claire arrived at Marcus's private suite, her expression serious, having already been briefed on the shocking revelations. I've secured everything you asked, Claire said calmly, handing Marcus a secure phone. Damien doesn't know you're onto him yet, but when he does, it'll get ugly fast. Marcus nodded grimly. Isabella and my sons must remain safe, Claire, no matter what happens to me. You know I'll protect them with my life, Claire assured him. But be careful. Damien is ruthless. Marcus. So am I, Marcus replied coldly, a new resolve sharpening his voice. He threatened my family. He destroyed 9 years of our lives. This ends tonight. Damien Reed had his own luxurious suite, ironically located on the same deck as Marcus's own. Marcus stood outside his brother's door, heart pounding fiercely, anger simmering beneath his carefully controlled expression. He knocked sharply. Silence. After a pause, the door slowly opened, revealing Damien Reed, impeccably dressed in a casual linen suit, expression coolly neutral. But Marcus saw the flicker of suspicion cross Damien's carefully controlled features. Marcus, Damien greeted calmly, stepping back to allow entry. To what do I owe this late-night visit? Marcus stepped inside, closing the door behind him. His eyes immediately scanned the spacious room, noting the computer screens, surveillance equipment hidden discreetly, evidence of Damien's extensive network. Marcus turned, his expression hard, eyes colder than Damien had ever seen. I know everything, Damien. Damien's eyes narrowed slightly, amusement tugging his lips upward slightly. Everything. And what's that exactly? Isabella. My sons. Your threats. Marcus growled softly, fists clenched at his side. The 9 years of hell you put my family through. Damien's facade briefly faltered, eyes darkening dangerously. She told you. Everything. Marcus replied icily, stepping closer, every muscle tense. You betrayed me, Damien. Threatened innocent lives. Your own blood. Damien's calm broke, replaced by seething rage. I did what was necessary. You were weak. Marcus, softening, distracted. She made you vulnerable. Children would have destroyed everything we built. Everything we built. Marcus scoffed harshly. You stole from me. Stole 9 years. Stole memories I can never regain. You stole my family. I protected you. Damien shouted furiously, losing all control. The company, our wealth. Everything you enjoy today is because I made difficult decisions you were too weak to make yourself. Marcus stepped closer, eyes blazing, voice dangerously quiet. You tried to take away the only thing that ever truly mattered. And I promise you, Damien, I'll dismantle everything you hold dear if you ever threaten them again. Damien stared back coldly, regaining composure rapidly, a sinister smirk curling his lips. You underestimate me, Marcus. Do you think I'm alone in this? Marcus's blood turned cold, fear creeping back in. What did you do? Damien smiled cruelly, eyes gleaming with malice. You really think I'd leave your precious Isabella unattended? Marcus's heart lurched painfully. Without another word, he bolted from Damien's suite, panic and fear gripping him as he sprinted back toward his own cabin. As he reached the door, dread pooled deeply in his chest. The room was empty. Isabella and his sons, gone. A single note lay on the table, the words chillingly brief. You should have stayed away, brother. Now you've lost them forever. Marcus's knees buckled slightly beneath him, his world collapsing once more. Damien's sinister laughter echoed behind him as reality struck with crushing force. His fight was far from over. Unbroken bonds. Marcus stood in the devastating silence of his empty suite, the chilling words of Damien's note echoing through his mind, leaving him shaken to the core. The luxurious cabin, once a sanctuary of rediscovery and newfound hope, now felt like a tomb. Empty, lifeless, robbed of the warmth Isabella and his sons had briefly returned to his life. He crushed the note between trembling fingers, his jaw clenched, rage pulsing through every fiber of his being. Damien had gone too far. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a declaration of war. He gathered himself quickly, breathing deeply, regaining control over the frantic panic gripping his chest. Damien had taken everything from him before, but this time would be different. Marcus wouldn't allow history to repeat itself. Marcus. Claire burst into the room, her face etched with concern. Behind her stood Alex Harper, Marcus's trusted security head, a man whose presence immediately instilled calm and efficiency. We know, Alex said tersely, reading Marcus's expression instantly. Surveillance captured Damien's men taking Isabella and your sons below deck. He's arranged private transportation, a small boat, ready to depart the ship. Then we stop him, Marcus said fiercely, determination hardening his voice. Gather your team, Alex. We have to move fast. Already done. Alex nodded. They're waiting for your orders. Claire placed a steadying hand on Marcus's shoulder, her eyes firm. Marcus, Damien won't give up easily. You need a plan. Marcus exhaled sharply, forcing himself into ruthless clarity. Damien thrives on secrecy and power. He'll try to isolate Isabella, using our sons as leverage. We have to corner him before he gets off this ship. The moment he reaches open water, he'll vanish and we'll lose them forever. Alex nodded curtly. Then we cut off every route. I've sealed all exits and informed the captain privately. Damien won't leave unnoticed. Good, Marcus affirmed, his gaze steel-sharp, relentless. But Damien is cunning. We must anticipate every move. He expects a direct confrontation. So let's give him one. I'll draw him out. Make him face me openly. That's the only way Isabella and the boys remain safe. Claire hesitated briefly. Marcus, he'll be armed. Marcus's voice hardened. So am I, armed with something he fears more than weapons. The truth. Claire nodded, visibly moved by Marcus's resolve. We're with you, no matter what. Then let's go, Marcus said firmly, storming toward the door. Deep below deck, in a dimly lit maintenance room barely touched by the luxury above, Isabella clutched her children close. Her heart pounded fiercely, terror threatening to overwhelm her. The boys huddled together, eyes wide but silent, understanding instinctively the seriousness of the danger. Damien stood across from them, leaning casually against the metal bulkhead, his elegant demeanor at odds with their grim surroundings. His eyes gleamed with satisfaction, feeding on their fear. "You never learn, Isabella," Damien sneered softly. "All you had to do was stay away. You could have had a quiet life, untouched by all this." Quiet life. Isabella snapped bitterly, her courage flaring despite her fear. 9 years of running, hiding, living each day terrified you'd find us. Is that your idea of quiet? Damien shrugged carelessly. It worked, until Marcus stumbled upon you. Now look at the mess you've made. You won't get away with this, Isabella warned defiantly, eyes blazing. Marcus will find you. Damien laughed coldly. Oh, I'm counting on it. My dear brother always loved playing hero, but heroes fall hardest when they lose everything. Leave Dad alone. Lucas, the eldest son, suddenly shouted, stepping protectively forward despite Isabella's attempt to hold him back. His young voice shook with emotion, but bravery burned fiercely in his eyes. Damien paused, eyebrows raised in amused surprise. Brave boy. Foolish, but brave, just like your father. Lucas, stay back, Isabella whispered urgently, pulling him gently behind her once more. But Damien's interest had shifted, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. You truly resemble Marcus, Damien mused, eyeing each boy closely. Remarkable, isn't it? Each a perfect copy of my dear brother. Yet none of you knows anything about him. You don't even understand what you're fighting for. We know enough. Another son, Noah, retorted quietly, defiance flashing in his eyes. We know our father is good, and you're nothing like him. Damien's eyes hardened, his smug composure briefly flickering into raw anger. Good is weak, boy. Strength comes from ruthlessness, something Marcus never understood, but he will, after tonight. Damien turned abruptly, signaling 2 armed guards who had waited silently in the shadows. Watch them carefully. Marcus won't hesitate when he comes. Neither should you. Yes, sir, 1 guard responded gruffly. Damien cast a final contemptuous glance at Isabella. Say goodbye to your illusions, Isabella. Tonight, they all die with Marcus. As Damien disappeared into the corridor, Isabella hugged her children tightly, praying silently for Marcus to reach them before Damien's threats became reality. Marcus moved swiftly through the ship's lower corridors, Alex and Claire flanking him, their small but highly trained security team silently following behind. The dim lighting created eerie shadows, amplifying the tension in the air. They paused at an intersection, Marcus checking his device. They're ahead, near the maintenance hold. Damien expects me alone. I'll enter first, distract him, and then you and your team secure Isabella and the children. Alex nodded once. Understood. Be careful. Marcus squared his shoulders, stepping forward alone. His heart thudded heavily with every step, adrenaline sharpening his senses. The metal door ahead was slightly ajar, a trap obviously waiting for him. He pushed it open firmly, stepping boldly into the room. Damien stood waiting, his posture relaxed, eyes glittering dangerously as Marcus entered. Predictable, Marcus. You always chose bravery over wisdom. Release my family, Damien, Marcus demanded, voice calm but filled with suppressed fury. Your fight is with me. Damien chuckled, cold amusement flickering across his features. Oh, Marcus, you still think this is personal. It's never been about you, not truly. It's always been about control. Control over your empire, your legacy. Legacy. Marcus's voice hardened, venomous contempt filling his words. You destroyed my legacy the day you tore my family apart. Everything else means nothing. Damien's smile twisted cruelly. Then perhaps you'll finally understand what losing everything truly feels like. Marcus's gaze shifted briefly, spotting Isabella and his sons guarded in a corner, faces filled with anxiety yet hope as they saw him. Their presence fortified him, restoring his focus. "You underestimated me once, Damien," Marcus declared confidently. "Don't make the same mistake again." Damien's smirk faltered slightly. "And what makes you think you can stop me now?" "Because you're alone," Marcus replied steadily, taking a deliberate step forward. "Every secret, every crime you've hidden, I've sent it to every news agency and authority in the world. Even now, your precious network is collapsing. All your power, all your threats, they're meaningless now." Damien's eyes widened in genuine shock, disbelief and fury mixing dangerously. "You're lying." Marcus held his gaze steadily, unwavering. "Check your phone if you doubt me. It's finished." Damien quickly pulled his phone from his pocket, panic briefly flaring on his features as the truth became apparent. Anger darkened his face once more, replaced rapidly by desperation and rage. "You fool!" Damien roared, raising a hand to signal his guards. "Kill them. Kill all of them." But before the guards could move, Marcus's team surged into the room, swiftly disarming and subduing them. Alex stood at the forefront, weapon drawn, pointed directly at Damien. Damien stood frozen, eyes darting wildly as control slipped irrevocably from his grasp. Marcus stepped forward, voice steely with restrained emotion. "It's over, Damien. You've lost." Damien stared at Marcus, defeat finally dawning, though his expression still burned with hatred. "You think you've won. You'll never escape my shadow, Marcus. Never." "You're wrong," Marcus replied, voice filled with quiet strength. "Your shadow died the moment you threatened my family. We're free now." As Damien was dragged away, Marcus rushed to Isabella and their sons, pulling them into his arms, holding them desperately, fiercely. Isabella clung to him, tears freely flowing, whispering shakily, "I thought we'd lost you again." Marcus gently lifted her chin, meeting her gaze tenderly. "You'll never lose me again, Isabella. We're finally free." Lucas stepped forward, his small hand gripping Marcus's firmly. "Can we go home now, Dad?" Marcus knelt, pulling all 5 sons close, embracing them warmly, heart swelling with love and gratitude. "Yes, my son. Finally, we can go home. Together." Their quiet sobs and relieved laughter filled the air, washing away years of fear and anguish. Outside, under the starlit sky, the family stood united on the deck of the Star of Elysium, finally safe and together. Marcus gazed lovingly at Isabella, whose eyes shimmered brightly with hope. "No more shadows," Marcus bowed softly. "Only us." Isabella smiled, leaning into his embrace. "Only us." Above, the stars shone brightly, bearing witness to a family reunited, hearts healed, and bonds strengthened by trials that no darkness could break. Rebuilding hearts. The first golden rays of dawn spilled over the horizon, chasing away the darkness that had gripped Marcus Reed's life for nearly a decade. Standing on the deck of the Star of Elysium, surrounded by Isabella and their 5 sons, Marcus felt something profound shift inside him, a sensation he'd long forgotten. Hope. Yet beneath this newfound joy, uncertainty lingered. Damien had been subdued, his threats neutralized for now, but Marcus knew the path forward wouldn't be simple. Years of pain, secrecy, and betrayal had left deep scars on all of them, wounds that would take time, patience, and care to heal. "Marcus?" Isabella gently touched his arm, bringing him back from his thoughts. Her eyes were filled with concern, understanding instinctively what troubled him. "What's wrong?" Marcus exhaled softly, turning to face her fully. "It's just so much lost time, Isabella. So many memories we never got to share. I don't even know where to begin." Isabella smiled faintly, slipping her hand into his, fingers interlacing tenderly. "We begin right here, together. One day, one step at a time." Marcus nodded, heartened by her unwavering confidence. He glanced at their sons, who were quietly sitting nearby, sleepily huddled together, exhausted but safe. Lucas, Noah, Elijah, Liam, and Samuel, each a reflection of him, yet strangers he desperately wanted to know. Lucas, the eldest at nearly 9, approached cautiously, sensing the seriousness of his parents' conversation. His eyes, deeply intelligent and thoughtful, studied Marcus with curiosity and slight hesitancy. Marcus knelt to his level, meeting Lucas's searching gaze warmly. "You okay?" Lucas hesitated, glancing briefly at his mother before asking quietly, "Are we really safe now, Dad?" Marcus felt his heart swell, hearing the word Dad spoken freely, filled with trust. "Yes, Lucas, you're safe. I promise. Damien can't hurt us anymore." Lucas nodded slowly, visibly relieved. He shifted awkwardly, finally voicing what he'd been holding back. "I don't really remember home. Mom always told us stories about you, about our family, but I thought they were just stories. Is home really real?" Marcus smiled gently, touched deeply by Lucas's innocence and sincerity. "It is very real. And you'll love it." Isabella stepped beside Marcus, gently stroking Lucas's hair. "It's a place where you don't have to be afraid anymore, where we can finally be ourselves, together." Lucas's expression brightened, genuine excitement flickering in his eyes for the first time. He smiled shyly, nodding firmly. "I want to go home." Marcus stood again, drawing Isabella close to his side, as their sons gathered around, eager for reassurance. "Then let's go home," he said decisively, warmth and certainty returning to his voice. Returning home after years of heartache wasn't as easy as Marcus had hoped. The sprawling Reed estate, nestled among the peaceful hills overlooking the ocean, was a beautiful yet haunting reminder of all they'd lost. For Marcus, each corner held echoes of grief and loneliness. For Isabella and their sons, it was an unfamiliar yet captivating world, filled with wonders they had only dreamed of during their years on the run. The first few days were cautious, delicate as each family member learned how to exist together, navigating the complexities of their reunited life. Marcus watched in quiet awe as Isabella slowly began to relax, losing the tension she'd carried for almost a decade. But it was their sons who fascinated him most, each distinct, each bearing remarkable traits Marcus saw in himself. Lucas was fiercely protective, mature beyond his years, watching over his younger brothers with quiet determination. Noah, slightly younger, was thoughtful, reserved, and analytical, reminding Marcus vividly of himself as a child. Elijah was playful and expressive, bringing lightness and laughter into every moment. Liam was quiet, sensitive, deeply observant, and Samuel, the youngest by only minutes, was fearless, endlessly curious about everything around him. Marcus realized he had much to learn about fatherhood, about each boy's unique needs and personalities. Yet his willingness to learn and connect deeply moved Isabella, restoring her faith that their wounds would eventually heal. One evening, after the children had finally fallen asleep in their new rooms, Marcus found Isabella on the balcony, gazing pensively at the sea glittering beneath moonlight. He approached quietly, wrapping his arms gently around her from behind, resting his chin lightly on her shoulder. "Can't sleep," he murmured softly. Isabella leaned comfortably into his embrace, sighing deeply. "I keep waiting for it all to vanish, like it's just another dream, and we'll wake up back in hiding." Marcus tightened his hold gently. "I promise it's real. You're home, Isabella, and I'll spend every day proving you're safe." Isabella turned slowly, facing him, eyes deep with emotion. "How do we move forward, Marcus? We've both changed so much." Marcus smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face tenderly. "By building new memories, Isabella. Together. We lost years, but we have decades ahead to create something beautiful." She smiled, eyes shimmering with hope. "I missed you terribly, Marcus. Every single day." His voice lowered, deeply earnest. "Then let's never miss another day again." Gently, Marcus leaned forward, softly capturing Isabella's lips in a tender kiss, filled with longing, forgiveness, and profound love. Over the following weeks, Marcus devoted himself to rebuilding their family. He stepped back from work temporarily, entrusting his business to Claire and focusing fully on Isabella and the boys. Every day was a careful dance of getting to know his sons, attending their soccer practices, helping them adjust to school, listening to their endless stories about life before they met him. Each new experience brought challenges, yet Marcus relished every moment. He learned to soothe Samuel's fears, answer Liam's endless questions patiently, laugh wholeheartedly with Elijah, encourage Noah's quiet confidence, and nurture Lucas's independence. Gradually, trust and warmth replaced uncertainty and distance. Yet, just as Marcus felt their lives finding a peaceful rhythm, an unexpected visitor shattered that newfound calm. It was late afternoon when Alex Harper approached Marcus in the study, his expression solemn. "Marcus, you have a visitor." "Who is it?" Marcus asked cautiously, immediately wary of any disturbance. Alex hesitated briefly. "Your father." Marcus froze in shock, his heart pounding painfully. His father, Jonathan Reed, had withdrawn completely after Isabella vanished, retreating from Marcus's life, as though blaming him for losing Isabella. He hadn't spoken to Marcus in nearly a decade. "Where is he?" Marcus asked slowly, regaining composure. "In the foyer, waiting patiently," Alex replied calmly. "Shall I turn him away?" Marcus paused briefly before shaking his head firmly. "No, it's time to face him." Marcus stepped out slowly, pulse hammering nervously. Jonathan Reed stood silently, aged visibly by the years, his usually proud posture now slightly stooped. As their eyes met, an awkward silence filled the air, heavy with unresolved tension. "Marcus," Jonathan finally spoke, voice raspy with age and emotion. "I'm sorry for intruding, but I had to see you." Marcus swallowed tightly, emotions battling within. "Why now? After everything?" Jonathan's expression softened, genuine regret filling his weary eyes. "I was wrong, Marcus. I blamed you unfairly. I abandoned you when you needed me most. I never knew Damien's true nature. My ignorance cost you dearly, and it cost me my son." Marcus stood quietly, absorbing his father's confession, conflicted yet touched deeply by Jonathan's vulnerability. "I know apologies can't erase what happened," Jonathan continued softly. "But if you'll allow it, I want to know you again. Your sons, Isabella. I'd like to try." Marcus felt a wave of emotions, years of bitterness clashing with his longing for family reconciliation. But seeing genuine regret in his father's eyes softened his resolve. Quiet footsteps echoed behind Marcus, and he turned to see Isabella standing with Lucas and Noah, eyes wide, hesitant. She smiled gently, nodding her encouragement. Marcus finally stepped forward, extending a hand to Jonathan, voice firm but warm. "Come, meet your grandsons." Jonathan took his hand, eyes filling with gratitude and relief. For the first time in nearly a decade, Marcus saw something he believed forever lost: the possibility of healing. That evening, Marcus stood on the balcony once more, gazing at the stars as Isabella joined him. Her presence immediately soothed him, bringing peace he hadn't known for years. "Do you believe we can truly heal?" Isabella asked softly, slipping her hand into his. Marcus smiled gently, squeezing her hand tenderly. "I believe it's already begun." Together, beneath the endless sky, they stood quietly, hearts intertwined, facing the future not with fear, but hope. They had been broken, but now their hearts were rebuilding, stronger, deeper, and more connected than ever. The dawn of forever. Time had passed gently, turning once raw and painful memories into faded echoes, softened now by the warmth of renewed love and a growing trust. Days became weeks, weeks became months, and gradually Marcus Reed felt a peace settling over his family that he once feared they would never know. Life at the grand estate overlooking the turquoise waters became a picture of tranquility. Every morning, Marcus awoke with a sense of gratitude, a warmth spreading through his chest as he watched Isabella sleep beside him, peaceful, safe, her dark hair fanning gently across the pillow. Every sunrise brought the realization that he had been given a second chance, one he would never again take for granted. His sons thrived, growing stronger, happier. Lucas began taking sailing lessons, his quiet confidence blossoming into a fierce leadership. Noah explored every inch of the vast library, diving into books Marcus recommended, his curiosity sparking passionate discussions that filled Marcus with pride. Liam and Elijah found a shared love for painting and sculpting, their laughter echoing through the halls, filling each room with joy. Samuel, the youngest and most sensitive, shadowed Marcus closely, learning the ropes of their family legacy, his large blue eyes always seeking approval and guidance from the father he finally found. Marcus gladly gave it, embracing fatherhood as the richest adventure of his life. Damien's dark shadow gradually faded from their daily thoughts, especially after his sentencing. With overwhelming evidence stacked against him, Damien's empire crumbled swiftly. Marcus's heart carried sadness, mourning the loss of the brother he had once loved, but he knew there could be no forgiveness for what Damien had done. Justice was necessary, and justice had been delivered. Yet Marcus knew their healing wasn't complete. There was still one piece left, one final step that would fully close the wound Damien had inflicted, forever freeing their family from its haunting shadow. On a brilliant summer morning, Marcus took Isabella's hand, guiding her along the winding seaside path down toward the private cove below the estate. She laughed softly, curious and slightly confused, as they moved through the lush gardens, sunlight filtering gently through the trees. "Marcus, where are we going?" she asked softly, a smile playing at her lips. He only smiled mysteriously, leading her forward until they reached a small hidden clearing beside the gentle waves. Isabella stopped suddenly, her breath catching softly. Before her was a beautiful gazebo adorned with flowing white curtains and woven with delicate flowers, each blossom hand-selected and placed with infinite care. In the center stood their sons, Lucas, Noah, Liam, Elijah, and Samuel, all smartly dressed in matching suits, bright-eyed with anticipation. Marcus gently squeezed her hand, his voice steady and filled with tender affection. 9 years ago, we were robbed of this moment, Isabella. Today, I want to reclaim it. Will you marry me? Today, right now, in front of our sons." Tears shimmered brightly in Isabella's eyes as she looked between Marcus and their children, emotion overwhelming her. Finally, she nodded gently, her voice trembling with love. "Yes, Marcus. Of course, yes." The boys erupted into cheers, joyously surrounding their parents. Lucas stepped forward solemnly, proudly holding out a small box containing the rings Marcus had carefully chosen, a simple pair of elegant bands engraved with delicate patterns symbolizing unity and eternity. "I kept them safe," Lucas said softly, eyes shining proudly. "I promised Dad." Marcus smiled tenderly, gently ruffling Lucas's hair. "You did beautifully, son." Minutes later, surrounded only by their sons and the endless blue sea, Marcus and Isabella exchanged vows they had carried silently in their hearts for nearly a decade. "I promise," Marcus whispered, eyes never leaving hers, "that never again will fear control us. I vow to protect and cherish you and our children, to build a life of love, strength, and trust. You're my everything, Isabella. Forever." Her voice shook softly in response, filled with deep sincerity. "You've already given me everything, Marcus. Freedom, safety, and the family we both dreamed of. My promise to you is simple. I'll love you fiercely, unconditionally, always." With their sons cheering joyously, Marcus kissed Isabella deeply, sealing forever a bond that neither time nor circumstance could break again. As weeks passed into months, Marcus's home filled with new life. Family dinners became traditions, long evenings spent around crackling fires telling stories, laughing, reconnecting. Marcus learned fatherhood's delicate nuances, embracing each new challenge and joy fully. Isabella, finally safe, blossomed into a confident, warm woman unburdened by past fears. Yet Marcus knew there was one final reconciliation necessary to fully heal: the relationship with his father. Marcus invited Jonathan Reed to spend time at their home, slowly rebuilding trust through careful conversations, shared laughter, and moments of quiet reflection. Marcus watched as Jonathan formed genuine bonds with his grandsons, guiding them with wisdom born from years of regret and reflection. Watching this healing occur moved Marcus profoundly, slowly dissolving the lingering bitterness he carried. One evening, sitting quietly together on the veranda overlooking the moonlit ocean, Jonathan finally spoke the words Marcus had waited nearly a decade to hear. "I was wrong," Jonathan said quietly, voice filled with sincere regret. "When Isabella disappeared, I blamed you unfairly. I withdrew, afraid to face my own grief and disappointment. Marcus, I can't erase what I've done, but I hope, someday, you might forgive me." Marcus reached out, gently grasping his father's shoulder. "Father, forgiveness is already yours. We've both lost enough already. Let's not waste another moment." Jonathan smiled softly, tears gathering at the corners of his eyes, relief visibly flooding his expression. "You're a better man than I ever was, Marcus." Marcus smiled gently, warmth and peace spreading through his chest. "No, Father, I'm simply your son." In that moment, decades of misunderstanding and estrangement began to melt away, replaced by a bond rebuilt stronger and more genuine than ever before. That night, with the house quiet, Marcus stood again upon the balcony that overlooked the sea, reflecting quietly. Isabella joined him softly, leaning her head gently against his shoulder. "It's finally over," she murmured, relief and peace evident in her tone. "No," Marcus smiled softly, pulling her closer. "It's finally beginning." She looked up, surprised yet intrigued. "What do you mean?" Marcus gazed deeply into her eyes, gently brushing her cheek with his thumb. "Isabella, our journey hasn't ended. It's just starting. All our struggles, everything we've endured, led us here. This isn't simply closure. It's a new beginning. The beginning of the rest of our lives, together as a family." Her eyes softened, love and trust shining brightly in them. "You're right. Every painful moment brought us closer, built us stronger. Now we finally have the peace we fought so hard to find." Marcus drew her gently into his arms, feeling her warmth and strength grounding him deeply. "Exactly. And from now forward, we face whatever comes together. As one, united, unstoppable." Isabella sighed contentedly, gazing out toward the gentle waves shimmering beneath moonlight. "I used to think the ocean was endless, lonely. Now, standing here with you, it feels infinite with possibility. It feels safe." "Because it is," Marcus assured quietly. "Because we've made it that way." She nestled closer, voice softer. "Marcus." "Yes, my love." She hesitated, gathering her courage. "I'd like one more promise." "Anything." "Promise you'll never leave again," Isabella whispered. "Promise, no matter how difficult life becomes, we face it side by side." Marcus smiled tenderly, sincerity filling his voice, each word a solemn vow. "From now until eternity, Isabella, I promise to never leave your side." A soft knock on the door broke the quiet moment, and Lucas poked his head into the room cautiously. "Mom." "Dad?" "Come in, son," Marcus welcomed warmly, sensing his boy's hesitation. Lucas moved quickly, followed by his 4 brothers, each rubbing sleepy eyes. Isabella smiled affectionately, reaching out her arms and welcoming the boys warmly. "We couldn't sleep," Lucas admitted shyly. Samuel thought he heard something. Marcus laughed softly, gently pulling all 5 boys into the warmth of their embrace. "Then stay here, with us, together." In the comforting quiet, surrounded by his entire world, his wife, his sons, Marcus finally understood what home truly meant. It wasn't just a physical place. It was the laughter, The tears, the trust, the security that could only come from knowing they were safe, loved, cherished unconditionally. Marcus glanced once more out to the horizon, gratitude swelling powerfully within his chest. The storm had finally passed, leaving behind clarity and peace he never dared imagine possible. All the loss, pain, and darkness they had endured hadn't broken them. Instead, it forged their bond stronger, deeper, unbreakable. For Marcus Reed, life hadn't ended when Isabella vanished. It had paused, waiting patiently for the moment fate reunited them. And now, standing beneath the boundless sky, holding his family close, Marcus knew their story was only beginning. Their future shone brighter than ever before, illuminating a truth Marcus would cherish always. Love was never truly lost. It waited patiently, faithfully, until it was found again. Together, they were unstoppable. Forever united, forever found.